Um, I'm Meg. Hi, everybody. Thank you, and welcome back to the channel. Uh, you are looking at some of the trees and shrubbery in my backyard. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Megan, a faithful fibromyalgia warrior, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about being keto, transitioning back to carnivore, and some of the things that I've learned and that have really helped me, not only just the 2 years that I have been eating low carb or zero carb, but also the things I've learned, especially over the last 2 years. So to start with, it's hard to believe I've been eating this way for just over 2 years now. It feels like I've always eaten this way and that I've always been enjoying it, but the reality is I haven't. And going back 2 years ago, what you'll see especially is that I had gotten big. Okay, I am 5'5". I currently weigh, I think, about 120 pounds, 118, 120 pounds, thereabouts, which is perfect for the fact that because of some of my medical conditions, primarily being fibromyalgia, which was set off by a spinal disc injury in my lower back in 2014. Because of those reasons, I have seen reduced mobility, and of course I can't do free weights or lift weights to any extent because of my back issues. So because of all of that, as well as lockdowns through COVID, having an underactive thyroid, and to be quite honest, until 2 years ago, not knowing that healthy eating did not include grains or cereals or any sort of carbs or starches or sugars, processed or otherwise. I thought if I ate a little bit of fruit and I kept to things like whole wheat toast with peanut butter and banana or honey, that I was doing well. And clearly that wasn't the case. I came from the understanding most of us have that these things were actually what were causing a majority of my arthritic inflammation, my fibromyalgia pain throughout, ongoing, pain symptoms in my neck and shoulders. I also suffer with the after effects of whiplash. We were rear-ended by somebody in our car a few years ago, and not uncommon to fibromyalgia, my brain thinks that pain is still there, whether the injury is there still or not. Now, I've been told that the disc bulge in my lower back will probably always be there to some extent, and that it is causing irritation to the nerve in my spine, although not pressing on it, thank goodness. Which means if I walk too much, if I sit too much in one position, if I lay down for too long in one position, if I stand for too long in one position, I will start to get achy. So I have been on lots of pain medications since 2014. However, because of all the bloating and the additional weight that I was also carrying, not being able to go to the gym, not being able to move very much or as easily as I used to, didn't help. And I did not know that a lot of the things that we are told to eat are actually not very good for us. That in fact, these are foods that are recommended based on incorrect or completely falsified information. Okay, I only just recently learned that in fact the USDA food guide, My Plate I think it's called, and Canada has something similar, as do the health people here in the UK, but shockingly they all recommend very high amounts of both fruits and vegetables as well as whole grains. And these things actually often cause not only inflammation, but bloating, and cause our bodies to hold on to weight. A lot of it's water weight, but that's what these carbohydrates do. I only found out recently through a YouTube video that was done by by Dr. Anthony Chaffee and Kelly Hogan, where he explains that a report came out not that long ago in the US, as well as internal memos showing that the 3 Harvard professors who founded the American Heart Association were basically paid off by the big sugar companies to basically lie and say that cholesterol from animal products were the cause of heart disease, not sugar. And in fact, it was the carbs that were causing the issues, not these healthy meats and saturated fats. But once that misinformation is out, it's out there, which is why doctors still will recommend margarine over real butter, as well as eating loads of breads and pastas and healthy cereals and grains, which are not healthy. These things were grown initially to feed livestock. Animals that are on this planet are for us to consume. For those of you who are maybe also faithful believers like I am, who believe in God, who believe in the Bible, go back to Genesis chapter 9, and I think it's in verse 3, where it was written that God gave us the animals as our food. Now, ruminant animals, okay, like cows, deer, lamb, probably, I believe, pigs, pretty much any animal that's got 4 legs has multiple stomachs, and they were designed that way so they could eat the grasses and the herbs and all the plant life, process it, absorb whatever nutrients might be there, and for those nutrients get into their fat and muscles and tissues, so that when we eat it, we then get nourishment. Because those amino acids and short chain fatty acids that we cannot make ourselves, we get from animal meats, animal products. So let's go back to 2020, just for a moment, okay? Not to the pandemic part of it, but it played a part. And when the pandemic started, I was weighing in at about 155, 160 pounds. And if you look briefly at this picture of me, this is basically what I look like. I was so bloated, and it was in so much pain. My medications weren't working. My fibro fog was really bad. I couldn't remember anything important, and it was just horrible. And I just felt awful all the time. So, as you guys could see from that photo, I was a lot bigger, okay? I wasn't eating loads. I was actually restricting, because coming from a bulimic background, I was afraid of gaining weight. I didn't want to get heavy. As much as I was trying to love myself and be thankful for who I was, I just felt awful. And I didn't want to share any of these things with anyone else. I wanted to appear confident and as though I was quite content, and I had just accepted my fate, that there's no way around it. This is what I was going to look like. And because nothing else was going to work. I couldn't exercise. I couldn't get to a gym of any kind. Couldn't do any of those things because of my fibromyalgia pain, because of my back injury and pain. And I just thought this is just me. And I had an underactive thyroid. And maybe surprisingly, not surprisingly, my doctor, the specialist I saw, because of my high triglyceride levels, basically all she suggested I do is take thyroid medication, cut down my fruits to 1 serving a day, cut back on sweets and baked goods, try to avoid gluten, and that was about it. That was all she recommended. And that's what I tried, and it didn't help. And actually, if you look at this next picture, when I was at my heaviest, this was by the end of May of 2020, and I was weighing in at about 185, 190, which, just as a side point, that's what I weighed when I was pregnant with my older son. So 21 and a half years ago, when I was pregnant with him, that's what I weighed, which is not unreasonable for a pregnancy. But for somebody who was not pregnant, No, absolutely not acceptable. But this is what I looked like. And I share this without shame or anything else because it's not me now, but it reminds me that's where I was. And for so many other people who especially are stuck with chronic pain and autoimmune conditions who have developed a limited mobility because of it and don't know what to do. It's like, well, if I exercise, I can't exercise, so I might as well give up. Might as well eat the crap because what can I do about it? Nothing. And that was kind of where my headspace had gotten to. But I was also in just so feeling so sick and crap all the time. And I was like, I don't care if weed is not legal. Somebody find me some weed because nothing else is helping with my pain. They couldn't give me anything more than what I was already taking, and I was constantly in agony and I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable. And here's the picture. Okay, so what changed? So initially, my husband and I, because he'd put on weight too during lockdown, we both decided, let's try this paleo approach because it worked for his sister and she reversed her Hashimoto's. I was skeptical, didn't think it would work, decided to try it. And I'm glad I at least started on that path. So it's not like I found keto right away. Okay, it was a process. It was like a lot of us, it was a journey. So I thought, okay, fine, I'll give up gluten, I'll give up sugar, I'll give up dairy, and I'll give up soy. I knew I couldn't handle gluten already. I knew I couldn't handle soy. I knew I wasn't supposed to have dairy because I have a lactose issue, um, and that I should give up sugar because I knew it was inflammatory for my arthritis. So we did that, and for 2 weeks, we drank all kinds of smoothies, protein smoothies like pea protein smoothies. Um, we switched to almond milk, and we did lots of fruit smoothies and dark leafy greens, and we did juicing. And the problem was, it worked for him. He had no issues or sensitivities, and he dropped, I think, 13 pounds that first month, which is great. You know, that first few weeks or first month, I should say, for me, I didn't drop any weight at all. I don't believe. I think I might have lost 2 pounds. I was more constipated than I'd ever been before. So my IBS was like screaming at me. And I could not handle the leafy greens. But I kept eating them because I thought, this is going to heal my gut. So I was eating kale and I was cooking spinach and I was putting it in the frying pan with some avocado. Couldn't do it. I was eating fried eggs. I couldn't do it. And that's when I realized, okay, first of all, I've got to learn to listen to my body. So having IBS and trying to process high fiber foods, big mistake. I should have listened to my gut and I didn't. And I realized that was my mistake to begin with. I would soon come to realize that actually almond milk is also not good because even though it can be keto friendly, it is still from almonds and it is still a plant and it is still toxic. Just like I can't do legumes like chickpeas and lima beans and kidney beans. Well, peanuts are not nuts, they're legumes, and I should have known better, but I didn't. So I tried so I was looked further in the book and it said, try eating just the egg yolks. Ta-da, what a surprise, that worked. And it wasn't until after the first month where the book says you can start trying things like have a little bit of bacon, try just egg yolks. You may have to eliminate seeds and nuts and cereals and grains as well. And that's when I suddenly realized, you know what? There's almost nothing left from this book that I can actually eat. I tried making bone broth from roast chicken, had a horrible reaction. Didn't realize until a year later that those of us who have food sensitivities often find issues with any meats, even if we can handle the meat part, that we put in a crock pot for hours at a time, can cause a histamine-like reaction. And that's what happened when I tried to make my own bone broth. Couldn't handle it. And I thought, look, I feel awful. There has got to be something else. There's got to be something else I can try other than paleo, because it isn't working for me. And honestly, you know, prior to that, I hadn't been overly spiritual. I became a Christian in 1993. I never fully lost my faith, but I certainly wasn't putting God first. And a big part of it over that time was, to be quite honest, my brain fog was so bad, I simply couldn't concentrate. And I thought, well, will God even hear me? Because right now, the best I can do is just short little, quick little prayers of, God, thank you for today, or God, please keep us safe, or please help me get through this. Help this health situation get better. Please turn this into something for good. You know, so it wasn't like I lost faith, but I wasn't putting it first. And I suddenly, somehow a light bulb went off in my brain. Now, I believe it was the Holy Spirit nudging me along until I was like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. So I prayed, God, show me a way to please help me lose weight. I need to get healthy. I feel awful. If I lose some weight, it'll take the strain off my joints. It'll help with my inflammation. But this paleo thing is not working. And I don't want to fall into something that's going to trigger, you know, my old binging and purging habits. And so from that prayer in my mind, from that prayer I sent up, I went onto YouTube. I actually typed in how to lose weight if I can't exercise. And a bunch of videos came up talking about intermittent fasting and being on the ketogenic diet. And I knew if I was to try intermittent fasting, that it would probably be a trigger for me. So I stayed away from it. I learned a lot of good information from Dr. Jason Fung. And that was more about, not so much on the intermittent fasting, but why it's important to be low carb and why we need to teach our bodies to burn body fat instead of the carbs we eat. So that was really insightful. And I've always been someone who likes to learn stuff and research stuff, right, for myself and go, oh, that's why it's important. So watching his videos led me to people who talked about going keto. What is this ketogenic thing? And I found a lot of different insightful videos about going keto, why it's important. But I'll be honest, and it did work in the beginning, because again, I was weighing at about 185, maybe even 190 pounds at my heaviest without being pregnant. And, you know, by October of 2020, I was down to about 130, 135 pounds. I had lost easily 35 pounds by that point, which I'd never done it at all in my life in such a short period of time. And I think within the first couple of weeks, I lost almost 15 pounds just in water weight by cutting out the carbs. I found somebody who was talking about, well, you know, she decided to try this carnivore approach. And what I learned was it's simply zero carbs. It's simply eating animal products. That includes meat. That includes any animals that provide eggs, be it fish eggs or chicken eggs. For me, the yolks. I don't do well with the whites. And learning to figure out when am I actually hungry, and eating to the point of feeling satisfied and satiated. So I wasn't grazing and going back and digging out snacks all the time. So I had to start with keto. Okay, and that included, I was trying to include limited amounts of dairy, which was, it started off with half a tablespoon of heavy cream in my coffee, but then it quickly became 2 tablespoons of cream in my coffee. And unfortunately, what I came to see was that both the heavy cream and even the harder cheeses, as much as I love it, I can't tolerate it. And it would continue to give me bloating and gas, and I would step away from it for a couple of months, and then I would try it again, and the same thing would happen. So I can occasionally have a bit of cheese on a burger, but like a piece of cheese on its own, can't do it, which is unfortunate, but there we go. And I also came to realize that I was also changing my carb and sugar addiction. So what have I learned? Well, by watching Go Keto with Casey, I was reminded that, obviously I need to keep my carbs to 20 grams total per day or less, which I was always doing. I thought, until I realized that when I was drinking cappuccinos, because of the amount of milk that would go in, whether it was cow's milk or almond milk, there were carbs in that, and I was drinking quite a few of them. I also was reminded that yes, it's okay to occasionally eat non-starchy vegetables, although having IBS, the non-starchy vegetables are the ones that would cause me the most discomfort, and yet thinking that, oh, if I just have a couple of green peas or a piece of cooked carrot, I should be fine. And then, of course, having to deal with those after effects, reminding myself that I actually cannot do any vegetables, and I certainly don't do any fruit because I can't. I cannot. My body cannot handle it. So I have realized that yes, the carnivore diet is, for me, the ultimate elimination diet. And I had to stop trying to work out ways to put stuff back in. I had to take stuff out for a reason. So even if my gut gets healed, why would I add in things that will cause a reaction in my body, or, to be honest, that are going to cause me to put on weight or to hold on to weight again, because I don't want to be where I was. Now, I'll be completely honest. For me, my initial goal was to simply lose the weight. I did not go in thinking, well, how about I focus on improving my health? Because I didn't think that would happen. But here's the thing. It did. My statins did not bring down my triglycerides. My thyroid medication was not there to help bring down my triglycerides. Cutting out carbs and sugars of all kinds, period, is what brought down my triglycerides to a normal range level, in fact, on the lower end, which is fantastic. That's what did it. And it was because of what I wasn't eating that made such a huge difference. Watching, especially over these last several months, watching carnivore yogis videos. And, as much as it sounds woohoo, but stepping outside every morning when I get up and gazing up at the sun with my eyes closed and my glasses off, to send those signals to the brain that, oh, it's morning time, it's daylight, it's time to wake up, started to slowly help me feel awake without me having to guzzle back 3 cups of coffee. I'm happy to say that I am down to maybe 1 cup of coffee a day, but it's going to be just a regular filter, like a black instant coffee, or an Americano, like a black, just plain coffee. But I'm giving up all dairy, all alternative milks of any kind, because as much as I didn't want to admit it, I was getting gut rumblings from the almond milk. I just tried to convince myself, no, it must be something else. It wasn't. And having tried to go back to putting cream in my coffee as an alternative, it just left the roof of my mouth itchy, and it was causing me to have breakouts. It wasn't because I was still having my cycle. I just started menopause this past year, so my cycle's doing all kinds of weird things, like only for 3 days long, and then maybe it'll be 5 weeks before the next one, and then that'll last like 12 or 13 days, and then it might be 3 weeks, and then, all that weird stuff as my hormones adjust. However, I wasn't breaking out as much when I stopped having dairy. So unless I'm using butter for cooking something, I'm off dairy completely, and my gut feels so much better. I just stick to fatty ground beef or pork. I have I bought a big 1 kilo package of 23% ground beef with ground pork, and it says perfect for a bolognese, for spaghetti bolognese. I don't eat pasta, I don't eat red sauce. I've cut out mayonnaise and barbecue sauce, which would have all sorts of sugars and preservatives. And actually, to be honest with you, even though I found almond milk that has 0 carbs and 0 sugar, it still has lecithin from, which is a preservative, I believe it is, a stabilizer from sunflower seeds, as well as gums, which are emulsifiers, which makes it look creamy and thick as opposed to watery nut juice, which is what it is. Even though a 1 liter carton only has maybe 23 milliliters of nut juice in it and the rest is water, doesn't matter. It's got preservatives, it's got stabilizers, it's got emulsifiers, and those are not good for the human body. So I am off almond milk, I'm off dairy. As I say, I will still perhaps attempt dairy now and again. I'm hoping to include it once in a while, but for right now, I'm excited. I'm off dairy. I'm down to 1 cup of coffee a day. And I know, decaf is never 100% decaf, but considering I was up to 4 cups of regular coffee a day, and nowadays I hardly even crave it, because of learning how to set a good circadian rhythm and day, thanks to Sarah's videos, that's Carnivore Yogi on YouTube. I'm up early and I generally now have energy and I don't require any caffeine. I just wake up automatically at about 6 o'clock, which is when my dog wakes me up as well to go out. So that's kind of perfect. Because of her videos, I have bought clip-on blue light blocking lenses to go over these glasses, and I put those on after dinner at about 7. It's still daylight out, but it's training my brain so that, you know, by 10 o'clock I'm ready to sleep and I have deep sleep and it's refreshing sleep. And other than maybe getting up at 2 to let the dogs out, my rest is complete. So these are things I've been learning over this last little while. So I guess what I'm saying is, although, you know, I did start out by learning how to do keto, I did find quickly that carnivore made me feel better. I thought that, oh, that's it, I must be fine, my gut's healed, so I'm going to start trying to reintroduce some dairy, mostly. Can't do dairy, I'm going to switch to almond milk, I'm sure I'll be fine. Couldn't figure out why I was feeling bloated all the time, right? I'm like, well, you know, I'm eating meats, I don't eat any, but I was also putting barbecue sauce and mayonnaise on my beef. Some people, it doesn't bother them, and that's fantastic. I realized once I cut that out and just simply ate my meat, salted to taste, I felt so much better. Also, as a reminder from Casey Durango at GoKetoWithCasey, I eat slowly. I chew each bite. I'm thoughtful, grateful for, you know, God giving this animal to feed me, to nourish me. That's where I'm trying to come from. And when I do that, and I, you know, drink water, take my time, I find that I get satiated quicker, and the signal goes to the brain of, oh, hey, you know what? You're not hungry anymore. And I've actually had times where I've had to put some of it away in the fridge for another time, or just chuck it out because I was full. I didn't want to eat all of it. And so that for me is a victory, coming from a binging, purging background. So helpful. So I'm getting much better sleep. I would say, for those of you who haven't seen any other videos of mine, I'll tell you, but the brain fog that lifted, first when I was keto, yes, but when I took it further and went full carnivore, 0 carb, cut out the dairy, and I've gotten rid of all sweeteners, mints and chewing gum and drinks, all of that's gone. All the sweeteners are gone for me. For one, it does not do my poor IBS any favors. And the other factor was it just left me wanting and craving food. Not sweet things necessarily, but just made me feel hungrier. So when I got rid of that, oh my goodness, the freedom. Yeah. I wasn't constantly worried about, should I eat this? Well, if I eat now, I can't eat later. And that's the thing. once you learn how to determine if you're actually hungry or not, it's really easy to say, you know what, I'm not that hungry. I can wait. Yeah, it's not hunger. It's not. It's boredom, or it's because I think I'm supposed to eat this now. This is what worked for me, you know. So that was a huge change. So I wanted to share with you guys, because the brain fog has lifted even more. I have had an amazing reawakening in my relationship with God, and my faith has gotten deeper, and I've been able to focus on whatever I've been studying out or praying through, and remembered what I'm praying for, not just say something and forget it 2 seconds later, which has been so great for me in my walk, in my Christian walk. It's been amazing. So I am convinced, absolutely, that God, through the Holy Spirit, allowed me to find the ketogenic diet and what it was and how to do it. But then through all that, I found my way to GoKetoWithCasey. I also found, as I've mentioned her, Carnivore Yogi. And I've also been binge watching Dr. Sarah Zaldivar, as well as posts put out there by Kelly Hogan. And they've been helpful. They've been super helpful. But I have found that I feel the absolute best going back to being full carnivore. You don't have to. If you are able to handle dairy, then please enjoy full-fat dairy in limited amounts. If non-starchy vegetables like cauliflower and broccoli do not cause your gut to erupt and for you to feel horrible, enjoy those in limited amounts, like, you know, 1 fistful or 2 at the most per day. Enjoy. Absolutely have at it. I can't. I have gone back full carnivore, zero carb, whatever you want to call it, and I'm feeling better than ever. Because going from what I used to look like, and here's my picture in just a second, to what I look like now, night and day, and I wouldn't change a thing. So it has improved my fibromyalgia pain, but more than that, it has improved the effectiveness of my painkillers. I have days where I get around the house without a crutch full time. Fantastic. Can I walk all the way into town and back? No, I still need to go out in my electric wheelchair, but I tell you what, I have more energy to go out, do a bit of shopping, stop and read in the local cafe, pick up some groceries if I need to, little bits and pieces in town without feeling exhausted 5 minutes into it. I can try on clothes, you know, within reason, without feeling agonizing pain as soon as I get into the change room. So these are amazing things that have happened, yes, through keto, but especially since being strictly zero carb again. So I hope this is helpful. I hope it helps you guys. Honestly, do I expect it to get rid of my fibromyalgia completely? No, I don't. Maybe it will someday. Who knows? But I don't expect it to do that. However, it has made a massive improvement in my life, and I hope it does the same for you. So whether it's so you guys want, you know, to remove brain fog, if you're looking for clarity so you can focus on your friendships, on your relationship with God or your spouse or your partner, your friends, your children, it can definitely help. If it's to feel less pain, improve your mobility, it can absolutely help. It's all good. Keto is not bad. Again, that's where I started and it worked in the beginning. But I needed to be full carnivore to really get the benefits. So I hope this is helpful, you guys. Please, if you have any questions, feel free to send me a text or a comment, and share this with anybody you think it might be helpful for. Anybody you think it could encourage or support, share it with as many people as you can. I will be back as soon as possible with more content. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support and your love, guys. And hey, if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead. Be great. Let's support each other. Let's build this community and be supportive of each other. That's what it's all about. Thanks so much for everything. See you guys soon. Bye for now.